Hello, good day, everyone. Welcome back to our subject, Contemporary World. And we are still in chapter 2, which is all about the global economy. And we are done with the introduction, economic globalization and global trade, economic globalization and sustainable development, and environmental degradation. And for today's lesson, we are targeting to finish these three topics, which are the food security, economic globalization, poverty and inequality, and the global income inequality. Okay, let's start with the food security. So food security, it is the demand for food will be, the demand of food will be 60% greater than it is today. And the challenge of food security requires the world to feed 9 billion people by 2050. Imagine that, 9 billion people by year 2050. So global food security means delivering sufficient food to the entire world population. It is therefore a priority of all countries, whether developed or less developed. Okay. Second is the security of food also means the sustainability of societies such as population growth, climate change, water scarcity, and agriculture. And food security, as defined by the Nations Committee on World Food Security, or UNCWFS, means that all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets the food preferences and dietary needs for an active and healthy life. So I have a question here. Does Philippines have food security? Well, despite of COVID-19 pandemic and the imposed community quarantine since in the middle of March year 2019, the Philippines continues to be food secure with sufficient supply of basic food commodities. Ang example ana is mga relief goods or kanang mga ayuda from the government. And that is an example of food security. Next, we have the economic globalization, poverty, and inequality. The Swedish statistician Hans Rosling once said, "The 1 to 2 billion poorest in the world who do not have food for days suffer from the worst disease, globalization deficiency." The way globalization is occurring could be much better, but the worst thing is not being part of it. And that's according to Hans Rosling. So economic and trade globalization is the result of companies trying to outmaneuver their competitors. So while you search for the cheapest place to stay or place to buy shoes, companies search for the cheapest place to make those shoes. And they find the cheapest source of leather, rubber, or of course, mangita po sila og cheapest nga mga laborer. Mao na siya. Mao nang economic and trade globalization is the result of companies trying to outmaneuver their competitors. Mangita sila mas makalas sila. Next, the result is the labor-intensive products like shoes are often produced in countries with the lowest wages and the weakest regulations. This process creates winners and losers. Okay, again ha, ang kaninga process, maka-create siya og na winner na apoy loser. Again, the result is the labor-intensive products like shoes are often produced in countries with the lowest wages and the weakest regulations. And this process creates winners and losers. So the winners include corporations and their stockholders who earned more profit. And they include consumers who get products at a cheaper price, while the losers are highly wage workers who used to make those shoes. And mao na sila and mao na ang differences between the winners and the losers. Okay, next. But what about the low wage foreign workers? Are they winning or losing? So the answer of this question is a lot of workers are thrown into hazardous working conditions, but it is also true that many workers in developing countries are at least making more money. And these jobs pay above wages. And people want these jobs, and although the pay would be unacceptable in developed countries, and they are often the best alternative. Next, the multiplier effect means an increase in one economic activity can lead to an increase in other economic activities. For instance, investing in local business will lead more jobs and more income. And mao na siya ang multiplier effect. The example of multiplier effect. Next, the economic globalization has helped millions of people get out of extreme poverty, but the challenge of the future is to lift up the poor while at the same time keep the planet livable. So one of the best ways to help those in extreme poverty is to enable them to participate in the economy. And this applies to developing countries like our country, Philippines, in the global marketplace, and to individuals at the local level. Muna siya ang how to get out of extreme poverty. Kailangan i-participate sila in the economy. And daghay mga seminars and trainings, especially in livelihood program. Next, many of the people who have emerged from extreme poverty in the last 25 years have jobs, wages, and working conditions that would be unthinkable in the developed world. And in addition, economists say that it is all right, but it is progress that is very hard to achieve and tinuod man sab. Mao nang giingon nga lihok ayaw pagsalib. Mana siya. Okay? Again ha, ang giingon daw sa economist that it is all right daw, okay siya. Emerge from extreme poverty in the last 25 years. Pero the progress is very hard to achieve and tinuod na siya. Okay? And that's the end of our economic globalization, poverty, and inequality. Okay? Our next topic is all about the global income inequality. So globalization and inequality are closely related. We can see how different nations are divided between the North and South, developed and less developed, and the core and the periphery. And these differences mainly reflect one key aspect of inequality in the contemporary world in terms of global economic inequality. So, there are two main types of economic inequality. We have the wealth inequality and the income inequality. And let's start with the wealth inequality. Wealth refers to the net worth of the country. It takes into account all the assets of a nation, may they be natural, physical, and human-less the liabilities. In other words, wealth is the abundance of resources in a specific country. This means that the wealth inequality speaks about distributions of assets. Third, in order to measure global economic inequality, economists usually look at income using the GDP or gross domestic product. So when we talk about income inequality, we mean that new earnings are being distributed. It values the flows of goods and services, not a stock of assets, and that's according to economists. Okay, again, when we talk about income inequality, according to economists, we mean that the new earnings are being distributed. It values the flows of goods and services, not a stock of assets. Next, income is the new earning that are constantly being added to the pile of countries' wealth. In other words, the poor are doing a little better and the rich are becoming richer due to global capitalism. And that is the wealth inequality. Next, we have the income inequality. Access to technology also contributed to worldwide income inequality, and it complemented skilled workers but replaced many unskilled workers. Wala siya. Manang nagapoy inequality. Kaya gi-complement lang nila tong mga skilled nga workers and gibayloan tong mga unskilled workers. Actually, ang kanang mga unskilled workers, gitawag sila unskilled kasi bago pa na sa ilaha. So naaman tay training na po tay seminars or kanang training dyan mismo nga before ka isalang sa imuhang. Like for example, if you are a teacher. Yes, if you are a teacher. Diba di ka diritso nga isalang judayin ka diritso. Napa na siya practice teaching mahitabo for you to learn, for you to be a skilled worker. Wala siya. So na siya income inequality. So na siya gihapoy inequality nga nahitabo. Okay? So ang mga skilled nga mga workers, dako sila income, ang mga unskilled worker, layo ra kayo sa income sa skilled worker. And that's reality. Next, in modernized economies, jobs are more technology-based, generally requiring new skills. And this is what economists refer to as a skill-based technological change. And as a result of this, workers who are more educated and more skilled would thrive in those jobs by receiving higher wages or income. And in the other hand, the unskilled workers will fall behind and they will be left or overtaken by machines or more skilled workers. So ma-replacean din na sila sa mga skilled workers. Okay? Next. In addition, manufacturing jobs that require low skills are moved overseas. It's moved. Okay? Again, in addition, manufacturing jobs that require low skills are moved overseas. And sa kaning sa kaning situation nga, manufacturing jobs nag-require sila mga low skills are moved overseas. The result is a widening gap between the rich and the poor, as well as between the high skilled and the low skilled workers. And that's the end of our discussion for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you learned something new today. And if wala, palihog ko, pakibalik o watch aning video for you to learn. Okay? Again, that's the end of our discussion. Thank you. Keep safe, everyone, and God bless us all.